Welcome everybody to the first in a series of Bureau Manager podcasts, which I'll be running throughout 2024. I'm extremely grateful to the Payroll Centre who have supported me with this venture and are sponsoring all 4 podcasts this year, and who support all the work I do, to be honest, with the Association of Bureau Managers. Without their help, this wouldn't happen, so you can blame them or thank them. For anybody who doesn't know, the Payroll Centre is the largest payroll assessment and training organisation in the UK, which is pretty impressive of itself. The Payroll Centre first came to my attention some years ago when I first came across the ACT product that they'd produced, I don't know, 8 years ago, I'm guessing now 10 years. And I remember thinking, this is something the industry needs. And the current version, which we'll tell you about later on, is really a beautiful thing and of a great help to bureau managers. My first guest on the podcast is, I've travelled all the way down to Bristol to see Tracy Jerram, who is the
commercial director.
Commercial director at Cox Co, just outside Bristol. I've known Tracy for 15 years, since I first came down to meet her and Steve, who owns the company and after whom it's named. And we've known each other for many years, and I've monitored her career and she's put up with me throughout that 15 years. So I want to get started with a few warm-up questions, Trace, if that's okay.
That's cool.
So some basics, we can go all the way back. I know it isn't that far long ago. What did you like doing at school?
Oh my goodness. Subject? Okay, so I liked 2 subjects. And that was computer studies. That was in its infancy at school. We were quite a progressive school, having computer studies as a course, and technical drawing. So like architecture drawing.
You're joking?
Yeah.
Tech drawing was my favourite.
Oh, really?
Too. Honestly, it was.
Wow, yeah.
I still remember it says on my report, it's not about me, but I still says Barry has a flair for this subject. Yeah. What a great subject! Never knew. So, what at school? As you were a talented tech drawer and computer user, what did you want to be when you grew up?
When I grew up, okay, well, I had a ZX81. Right. You probably can remember those.
Yeah.
And I obviously, I watched some great movies like War Games, and I wanted to go into computers. And I didn't manage that because at the time, my parents weren't really the sort of people that said, yes, Tracy, that's what you need to do and do. So I wanted to go into some kind of tech. Right. I guess, really, when I was really young.
And where did you go then?
Where did I end up?
Well, where did you start?
Oh gosh, well, yeah, this is what happens, bad career management when you're a kid in the 80s. So I ended up as an office junior in a solicitor's.
Right.
Yeah, as a typist, like you do.
Oh God,
really
did you
boring.
really?
I was 16, yeah.
I never knew this about you, Tracy, that's interesting. Do you remember your first pay slip?
No.
Do you not?
No. I remember what I bought with it though.
Do you go on? What did you get?
I bought Susie and the Banshees LP.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first thing I bought with my very first paycheck. So,
brilliant.
Yeah. I was on £1 an hour.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
Nice.
It's good.
I don't tell you about mine. So here we are at Cox Co in their fabulous offices in the lovely countryside. How did you start here? What happened to bring you here?
Okay, so I had left my career to have children, because by that point I was in tech.
Right. Okay.
And but I moved towns and therefore had children and took a career break. And I was voluntary managing a charity, an early years charity.
Right.
And we used to get our books audited once a year by Mr. Stephen Cox. And so I used to come down and bring the books down. Right. And it was only because I said to him once that I was leaving this job, and he said, what are you doing? Right. Where are you going to go? And I said, well, I don't know, I haven't got anything planned. He said, would you like to come and join me in this startup business? So, that's how I ended up. Because it was 1 day a week. I think I was only working 3 hours a week. And that's how I started.
So it was just Steve then?
It was just Steve.
How long ago was that then?
Well, the business started in 2009 and I
Right.
joined them in 2010.
Right.
Yeah.
So just the two of you then
Yeah.
in this farmyard.
In
let's
the
be honest,
farmyard.
farmyard.
Yeah, farmyard. Not this office, the one across the way.
Yeah,
which is
15 years
really
ago.
small.
And today, 15 years later, having gone through everything that Payroll's been through, where's the company today?
Where's the company today? Well, we've got 8 members of staff, which doesn't sound very many, does it? But we're a payroll-only bureau, and I think that's the difference, is that, you know, we've managed to be a commercially viable company for, for 15 years, and we've now grown to 8 members of staff.
What have the challenges been over that period, do you think, for growth and development?
Well, I think the first challenge was the tech side, the system side, definitely, with making sure that we had payroll software that was fit for purpose, was going to, lead us into e-payslips. And we made the decision to move to e-payslips very, very early. It was over 10 years ago. And also cloud computing. So we went to remote desktop. Well, must be 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing we decided to do for business resilience. So that was, so we could get onto the system remotely, and it was continually backed up, and we didn't have servers in the corner of the room that we had to back up. So that was the first thing we did. And then I guess auto enrollment. I think RTI had already come in, or it was coming in around about that time. And then auto enrollment was sort of soon followed after that, and that was a big change. Big additional services that we were bringing in.
Yeah, and presumably you were growing during that period, adding staff as you needed.
Yeah, staff come and go, and you may decide that you need a couple of extra, and then they leave, and you have to reformat what you're doing, and businesses change, don't they, over 15 years.
I think in a small firm as well, that is so challenging, isn't it? If you're 4 and you lose 1, that's 25% of your staff, your productive
definitely.
staff. Are you a payroller, Trace?
No.
You're not really?
I think I dabbled in it for about 3 months when I first started.
And Steve stopped you, did he?
No, I said I didn't like it. So I didn't take to payroll, I think, because my skill set didn't like the routine of it. I like progress, and I like to be able to make change, and I like change management and challenge. Yeah. So my skill set definitely moved along that way.
So that's your job then?
Yeah.
Change, management, and so on.
Yeah. So my role is strategy. What are we going to do?
Brilliant.
Where are we leading? How do we get there? So yeah.
I mean, in my experience, so few bureaus have that sort of, with respect to everybody I know out there, and it's partly because many of them exist within an accountancy practice. So few have that sort of strategic leadership, and I think that's one of the big pluses of Cox Co. So upstairs, the team have been very quiet. They're not just payrollers, are they, on the whole?
No.
What sort of a team have you built and created?
Right, okay, well, we do have core payroll people, obviously, but as I tell them, they got to have more skill sets and a broader skill set now than what it is just processing payroll. So we've also got what I call an ops team, more of a tech team. So they look after the operational sort of side of the business, really, the system support, and helping our payroll providers, our vendor, to improve the payroll product that we use. Yeah. And we're also developing in-house products as well. So, they sort of sit around the peripherals, making sure that the payrollers can do their job and that we can deliver the service correct.
Two of you have just embarked upon new courses, haven't you?
Yes, we have. Yeah, so we're massive advocates for for apprenticeships. I mean, it's such a huge opportunity for businesses. We're a small business. We're not a levy player, so therefore we get 95% funded. Brilliant. And this is like on 15 and 18,000 pound courses. So we pay 5%. So one of us has just started a level 4 business analyst, which is me. And then my colleague has started a data analyst course. Yeah. And then one of our payrollers, which is just coming to the end of his payroll apprenticeship level 3, he'll be moving on to either business analyst or data analyst, or another direction if I decide to point him in another direction.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting, personally. I think too often payroll is back room, receives information, processes, sends it out, and too often they lack an understanding of the business behind the numbers, what sort of business it is, what line of business they're in, what challenges they face, and so on. And I think that will equip you superbly going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we've only started, I don't know, January, and it's already paying dividends. I mean, what we've learned so far is starting to integrate into what we do. We're already reviewing things and reviewing our processes and looking at and speaking to additional, external vendors about how we can improve processes.
You already spend a bit of time with clients, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
Is that just at the first bid stage, or on an ongoing basis do you go out and meet clients?
Yeah, so I'm sort of in charge of them migrating in, so onboarding, and so bringing them into the systems and making sure that everybody's prepped up and ready to go. And then cyclically, that's the word, cyclically, we then have a client review process which goes on, and that sort of goes on annually, really. So we go back and we review what they're doing and how we're working with them and where they need to improve and what we need to be doing, working with them closer. And that's where those business analyst skills and those data analyst skills as well come into use.
So that's a formal process, is it? The annual review on site with each client?
Yes.
So, wow, that's amazing, really. Again, I think a lot of people could learn from that. I'm a strong advocate that payrollers need to, open the door, get out of the office and go and see clients, talk to them, listen to them. And so I think that's...
I think it is really important because you don't know what's going on in their business. You don't know what challenges they're facing, what systems they're looking at, what the C-suite's thinking of doing for their long-term strategy, which could potentially affect HR.
And you can draw that out of them in discussion, can't you? Which you wouldn't just get in the form of an email or
and you won't get it from your payroll contact either. Just handing payroll backwards and forwards between you. You don't have those discussions. So it is a unique opportunity to really go in and find out what's going on.
I think the other, for me, interesting development then is data analyst, because it's talked about a lot, isn't it, these days, that data is, you in payroll, you sat on all this important data, and we continue to sit on it. But I think you're going to be equipped with skills that allow you to take it apart and put it back together and turn it on its head and produce all sorts of numbers from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's data analytics is about telling stories, what's going on. And it could be to do with clients, or it could be to do with a bureau. When you're a bureau, you're managing a lot of clients, a lot of payrolls, a lot of stats. Yeah. And, what can we get out of those stats to be able to tell us how we're functioning as a business? So, it's internal as well as external for clients as well. Yeah. But when clients have got not the skills in the house, so they don't have their own data analysts, our plan is that we will then have the skill set there to help them tell stories about their own data, maybe HR data or something like that we wouldn't necessarily see as payroll. Yeah,
I get quite excited about aggregating all the data you've got as a bureau across all those industries and across all that time, and the trends that you're able to draw out there. And we're not doing it yet. Well, a lot of us certainly aren't. And I think it's a great opportunity to do that. The sponsors, as I mentioned earlier, of the whole series of podcasts is the Payroll Centre. And I just want to tell you a little bit about version 2 of ACT, which is, again...
Assess. I've forgotten.
Assess. What is it upstairs? Customise.
We said it earlier. We said it 5 minutes ago, didn't we? Yeah.
So, they've recently released version 2 of their ACT platform, which stands for...
Assess, Customise and Train.
And Train. Brilliant. Okay. Now, I knew of the product before, with version 1, but I had a good look at it with Phil Cass, who who works at the payroll centre just a few weeks ago, and what an impressive tool it is. I think you use it, don't you?
Yes, we do.
I mean, for me, they've done 3 very, very important things in developing the second version. They've listened closely to feedback from the clients, which is vital for any successful business. They've deepened the level of questions which the platform asks of the users of the system. And third, they've given the interface a complete overhaul, and it really is a very impressive looking tool now. How long have you been using ACT?
I think we've only been using ACT properly this financial year,
Right.
in its new form, because we had it before, but in its old
Yeah.
form. So version 2 we've been using properly this year. So,
Brilliant.
yeah.
What made you go back to it then?
Because they've
The look and
improved
feel.
it. And also you have video support as well now. So if you're unsure about the question, you can watch the answer on a video, which you didn't have before.
So for those who don't know, should we just run over what it does do?
Okay.
So people have their own their own account. They log in and it randomly questions them on various areas of payroll.
So it's split into various areas and sections of payroll, and then you've got questions, and it's randomised the questions that come out. So if you're sat with another colleague, they may have a different set of questions.
Yeah.
So then you've got multiple choice, and you answer the question.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, obviously, it tells you whether you've got, did you get it right
How
or
did
not?
you score?
Yeah, and then you're graded then as a red, orange, or a green for go. And yes, you did it. Excellent.
Right.
And then you can see then for each employee where the strengths are and where the areas are that you may need to give some additional training. And then you can also then see as a bureau level, so across your teams, what your strengths are as a team.
I think for me, when payroll legislation is so broad and complex, knowing that your team and trusting that your team have all the knowledge and skills they need must be a frightening challenge. And having a tool like this really does, I think, give you visibility of exactly where you sit.
Yeah. So I think it gives you a structure as well to train around, because it's sometimes you think, gosh, it's so broad. Where do we start to train? So it actually gives you some structure to work work towards as well. So we found that quite useful. It gives as well everybody an opportunity to assess where they are. And go off and do some research. It's backed up by huge reams of documents by the payroll centre, so you can go into real in depth, trying to find out the answers. So it's been a good, worthwhile tool and investment this year.
Brilliant. So Cox Co have won many awards, haven't they, over the years? The photographs and trophies all around this room. Yeah. So, I mean, it's impressive that you've done it as this little outfit, as you say, just based in Bristol. What, for you, are the benefits of entering these awards and of, in many cases, winning these awards? Because you have been successful.
Yeah, we have been successful. It's bizarre, the benefits of it, because actually I don't see the benefits as the winning of it. I see the benefits as the going for it. Right. Because in order to go for an award, you have to go way beyond just delivering a service. And so for us, you can't do it every year, or we can't do it every year. So for us, we have multiple projects going in the business, and different people and different payrollers and ops team are working on different projects, and they come together at certain points. And sometimes in one year, you're able to say, do you know what, this body of work, all these things have now come together, and we can go for an award. So that's how I manage it. So it's the benefits are then you go, do you know what, this is how well we did that. I have to remind the team what we did, because you forget half the time what you achieved. And it just gives reassurance to the team that we are doing really well. How amazing for a small business to win.
Because you never know how well you're doing. I mean, you hear, your clients don't complain, so you assume everything's fine. They occasionally do, so you assume the worst. And I think it allows you to measure yourself, doesn't it, against the rest of the world, and just say, how we're doing. And
I think as well for other small businesses, you know, you could be so easily put off from entering an award because you've got big companies going for it with multi-million-pound projects and huge marketing teams that apply for the award for you.
That's right,
You know, and you can be really impressive with your stats that you then report. So the fact that we're able to, you know, challenge them in their own arena with this small business, with our projects that we've managed to deliver, and the results of that, you know, those projects is quite impressive. And I think for the team, for us knowing that we've all worked together, you know, to deliver that. So even though one person might win an award, it's not that one person, the whole team helped that person move forward. So,
I do think it's, and it gives them the confidence, doesn't it? Because when you go to these awards and you're up against these big firms and it's just little old us, you can feel inferior, can't you? But there's no reason why you shouldn't. Certainly Cox Co shouldn't, because you're regular winners, aren't you?
We have done really well,
And I think for you to find the time and make the time, because it takes a ton of effort.
Yes, it does take,
to put the bid together, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But I think if you've got enough projects that you can pull on, you know, enough results, because sometimes those results don't come in until after an award submission, so you've got to wait till the following year. So it's very worthwhile though.
Yeah, right. I'm dying to get onto this one. ChatGPT. So this ChatGPT was released on an unsuspecting world, and in November 2022, I think, so only 18 months ago.
Right.
And it threatened or promised to change all our lives, didn't it, for the better, and perhaps it's beginning to. What's your take on it? Are you using it, and if so, how?
I love it. I love it. I'm an absolute advocate for it. I just love it. I use it all the time. So
tell us how.
How am I using it? Well, I'm in the process of building a new website. Right. So it's very good for creating copy. So you can, you know, I put in my words that I want to say, and it can just rejig it to make it sound far more professional than what I can write. And it's also really good for coming up with SEO for your website, that sort of stuff. So I use it as a sort of a text-based system at the moment. That's how I'm using it.
So like a ninth member of the team.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. It's shaved massive amounts of time off of my day.
Do you not find though, if you know you've asked it to produce this lovely text, do you not read it and sometimes think, well, that's a bit ChatGPT-ish?
You'd be a fool not to, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So you do have to change sometimes, and you can change the way that it does the tone. You can say, can you reword it and make it more professional? Could you reword it and make it more friendly? And it will reword it.
I think a lot of people, certainly that I've talked to, haven't used it at all or that much, I think that iterative process you can have with it, treat it like a person. I say thank you. I don't know about you.
I say please, can you convert?
Yeah. And you say thank you, but could you just do this? And I'd like it to be slightly different this way. It responds.
Yeah, it does.
It's nothing like a search engine in that way, is it? It's they are really fabulous things to use. So were you one of the early adopters of ChatGPT?
I think one of the early adopters. I might have been late to find out about it. I'm not too sure. I've been using it now for probably 9 months. Right. Okay. I would say. Yeah.
I think for me the first thing is just try it. Throw some questions at it. Ask it for help. Think of it as a human being sat next to you, and you say, "Can you just do this for me? Can you help?" And then explore its possibilities, and that's what you've done, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
As a firm.
Yeah.
I think you might be using it for marketing as well. Are you prepared to tell us? Or?
Well, a bit more AI we're using for marketing. It's in its infancy at the moment.
So not ChatGPT. That's one AI tool, isn't it? Just to be clear.
Yeah. So
Go on,
it's in its infancy. We haven't really got going with it yet, but yes, it's quite a clever tool that's able to do a lot of the legwork for you, especially when you haven't got
videos and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's all linked up to telephone calls and creating blogs and all sorts of stuff. So
Brilliant.
Yeah, but we haven't got going with it yet, but we will be.
So the Bureau Management Conference in September, which unfortunately you were able to attend because you're in Barcelona, weren't you, as a team.
As a team, we were, yeah.
I argued that payroll services are grossly underpriced in the marketplace, and that if we're going to bring about change, we've got to put up our prices. Do you agree it's underpriced? And first of all, generally,
I think I mean, you can't say it's not underpriced, because you can see the volume of work that goes in, and the skills, the technical skills, and the systems, and the software that has to deliver that service, and the knowledge that somebody has to have. So yes, it is underpriced. Yeah, definitely.
I think it's a bit of a no-brainer because it is underpriced, isn't it? And we need to change it. I think we need to educate. I think clients to pay more. One of my arguments is we've hidden complexity for too long from clients, and we've not explained to them what's involved in fulfilling the job of putting payslips on employees' desks, and I think that's one thing we should do more of. You mentioned software platforms,
yes,
and you've changed over the last few years, haven't you?
Yes.
Which is, given that you run a payroll service, changing payroll software is probably the most fundamental change you can make, I would say.
It's the most disruptive thing you can undertake, I would say, when you're a payroll bureau, changing your core delivery of how you deliver payroll,
Have you got any, having gone through that process, I mean, I think you're right at you've done it now, haven't you? You've completed it. It took
April.
time. Having done that, is there any advice you'd have for anybody out there who's considering embarking on a migration project just now?
I would say to really look at and analyse where you're looking to make efficiencies. What are you expecting, and where are the bottlenecks in your business, and how is this new payroll software going to alleviate those in your business? Because I think so many times people jump on the bandwagon because they say, we have to make efficiencies. And then they go to a software vendor and they say, we can make you efficient. But nobody actually can quantify where those efficiencies are, because they didn't know where they were, where the bottlenecks were to start off with.
Because they don't know your business.
And the people that run the payroll don't know where the bottlenecks are. They haven't actually sat down and clarified where they were expecting to see efficiencies, and with this software deliver it. So that's what I would say, really analyse what are you expecting, and is that payroll software going to deliver it? Because sometimes you find as well that yes it delivers efficiencies, but it's also produced other work that you have to now create. And other workarounds suddenly pop up in your business. So that's my biggest advice.
I think there'll be strengths and weaknesses in your current platform, and the brand new one won't have every strength plus other strengths. There will be weaknesses in there. There'll be things that you've been used to that might not necessarily be there in the new platform, and people tend not to discover those until they start using the system.
And say, well, our old system used to do this. Oh no, this new one don't. Oh, now we've got to create another workaround. So we've borrowed from Peter to pay Paul, really. It's that scenario.
Or is it time to reconsider the core process of what you're doing? And we don't need to do that anymore. Do you know?
I think definitely.
A lot of people don't think that through before, during, or after implementation. There's and I think it's the nature of the job that you're doing. Do you know, it's that constant turn of payroll to process, to process. It's hard to stop and look strategically at what you did, what you're doing, and what you will do. I think.
And I think a lot of the times as well, people's hands are tied because of the payroll software. So they can't move, they can't move forward because the payroll software doesn't allow them to do it in the way that they think would be actually better for them as a business.
It's holding them back.
It does hold them back,
So would you tell them to get stuck in though positively get stuck into that migration
But to the
project.
migration, but everybody, yeah. I mean, if you decide that it's right for you, that product's right for you, and you're going to see the realities of that migration is going to come out at the end with some efficiencies or some new capabilities, then yes, absolutely. Of course I would. Of course, why would any business stay with an old stalwart with this holding them back?
People do. So, we were chatting earlier, weren't we, about what's happening in the broader marketplace, not just payroll, but the accounting marketplace, and the number of mergers and acquisitions that are taking place, and the whole environment that we exist within and work within and compete with is changing all the time, I think. Can it be a good thing for bureaus, do you think? Or
For any bureau or independent
for a pure
ones?
bureau like you?
For a pure bureau.
I think. Or for any, we'll start a pure bureau.
Yeah. But I mean, I can't predict the future, and I don't know what's going to
have a go.
happen. But no, I can't. But I think that smaller accountancies will move away from payroll processing, and I think then maybe the larger accountancies will grow their bureau departments. That's my prediction. I think also there might be a shift for in-house to move out, possibly. It depends on whether the software is going to continue to say it's easy and we can do it. For us as a business, I think a lot of our clients like to keep separation between their accountants and payroll. It's two separate things. So that's how we get new business, because people want that separation.
Why do accountants run payroll?
I think I'm not in an accountancy, so I'm probably not the one to ask, but I guess from an accountancy, it's about we service your business financial needs, and so therefore we do everything, and payroll is one of those things.
Probably the biggest financial outlay on a monthly basis.
It's normally at the bottom of the list, I would say. Unless it comes above tax, because in the alphabetical order it might do. But normally they've forgotten about it and it goes in at the end.
So, Tracy, I had to mention it, I suppose, didn't I, really, given what's happened in payroll and the world over the last 5 years, and it's furlough, really, and COVID. It is old news, I think, in many ways, but then again, I think it's still pertinent today. So there was an immediate reaction, wasn't there? And suddenly payroll became a very important service, and you became key workers, incredibly. And we felt that this was the beginning of a change in the way payroll was perceived overall in the marketplace, didn't we? Has it been? What have the effects?
I think the effects is not the value of payroll. I can't really say that that's shifted. It did during the time, because focus was on payroll and being able to make the claim, wasn't it? And keep people paid. So that was the focus at the time. I can't say that afterwards that we've really found any effect that people are valuing payroll any further. But I think that the long term, so we're living in the shadow of the pandemic. I think what we've seen is the shift in tech. I think businesses were forced to very quickly modify the solutions they were using, the applications what they were using. Moving from paper-based, probably somewhere. I mean, we weren't, but I can imagine a lot of businesses were paper-based. A lot of businesses had a server stuck in the corner of the room, and had to really quickly get onto a cloud-based. And then also, online meetings and Teams meetings and that sort of stuff, and using different solutions like Trello and Slack, and I think that sort of sped up the process of change very fast. And by the time we came out of the pandemic, that was sort of second nature applications that you were using.
So it did, and I mean, it did sort of reset expectations of what you have of tech, how strong a role tech can play in helping you be efficient and productive. But attitudes, has payroll been pushed back into that same old box that it used to be in now, do you think? In the
I
eyes
guess
of
it
many?
depends. I guess I'm probably not the best person to say really because
You're
I
the
don't.
only person sat here.
Well, I
at the
know,
moment.
but we only see what we see,
And that's all
which
you comment
is
on.
I can't see really that anybody is thinking any higher of payroll.
Do you not really?
No,
Right.
I don't think so.
Right.
They may say they do, but their
Right.
general attitude to payroll is that it just got to get done, and
Yeah.
can you do it?
Yeah. I think trying to be positive, which is rare for me, I suppose. I think accountants are viewing it a bit differently,
Okay.
and it may be that they recognise it can be much more profitable than they ever realised before, and it's purely for financial purposes. But that'll do for me.
I mean, if that's what you're seeing in the industry, that's absolutely great.
A little bit. I
Yeah,
think they
yeah.
have
I
realised.
think we've certainly seen a trend for accountants to stop doing payroll because it became too burdensome, and they realised that. And bizarrely, they all classed it as it didn't make any money. So we'll outsource it where we know you're going to charge more than what we were, which is a very bizarre thing.
Funny,
But
yeah. It's funny how they weren't making money, but you are.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be here still
yes,
15 years later.
and they're quite happy to let that
just to run
revenue
with that.
go, or opportunity for revenue go. So.
Yeah. Tracy, payroll is typically the industry that people fall into. We always hear it, don't we? I fell into it, and so few people seem to decide that's the career I want to do. What can we do to change that?
Okay, I think it's a very big
It's
task.
a big question.
It's a big
I know
question.
it is.
It's a big
huge.
task. So payroll isn't visible at a young level, a young age. Nobody knows it exists. Young people leave school and they're given a choice of courses that they can go to college and learn, and payroll isn't one of them.
No, I think people just assume, well, you work and get paid.
Yes.
And that middle bit.
They don't link up the two,
yeah.
and they don't realise an industry behind a payslip at all. So for us, the way that we get the message out is that we visit schools in the area.
Brilliant.
We've created some promotional videos, leaflets and that sort of stuff, social media, so that we can get the message out there is such a thing as a payroll career and what that pathway looks like.
Are those videos on your YouTube?
YouTube,
Are they?
yes,
Right.
yes.
So if people search for Cox Co on YouTube, you'll find some of these videos, and I think it's massively commendable. A, that you've done that and gone out, because it is one way forward, isn't it? But B, that you've produced this collateral to support it and spent the time doing that.
Yeah. Well, for us, it was really important. So we made a decision a couple of years ago to not recruit already trained payroll people because we were bringing them into the business, and they were, they just weren't quite fit for the bureau that we were. So we thought, well, actually, we'll just do old school, like the football teams, and we'll bring them up from scratch, in which case they actually learn how to work and operate in a bureau environment. They don't know anything different, and we take them along the payroll apprenticeship pathway. So I think we're on our fourth apprentice now, I think, from school leavers.
And already planning for, well, considering a fifth.
And a fifth, yeah. And we've had great success.
Can you connect the two? So has it been your visits to schools that produced one of your early apprentices, or is it
I
just...
can't say that it was. So the schools we've visited, we haven't recruited from.
Right, okay.
But the collateral that we've created has helped to attract the ones that we've got.
Brilliant.
So, in fact, our latest apprentice, Lucy, she actually looked for payroll apprenticeships when she was leaving sixth form. So
That's
she's the
fantastic,
first person I know of that young age that actually was looking
Do you know why?
for payroll. Oh, she had a neighbour, I think, that worked in payroll, and she thought that would be quite interesting.
That's just amazing.
It
is
amazing. So I just think maybe, you never know, maybe the tide is turning with enough promotional activity by payrollers and from other bodies that represent us to get the message out that payroll is a career.
We can do more though, can't we, I think?
We certainly can do more. I think everybody has got a responsibility really to recruit in or to get, especially for business resilience, to make sure that you're bringing up new recruits in your bureau.
I've often heard of, going out to schools being mentioned. I suppose the daunting thing is there are thousands of schools out there, so where do we start? But I suppose start somewhere.
You start in your catchment area, don't you? And that's all you
in
do.
your local area.
Yeah.
If there are enough of you doing it, then we'll start slowly to make
I
a
just think
difference.
we visit 3 senior schools in the area and 1 college. Not all schools are interested because not all schools have career fairs, but the ones which are actively trying to help their young people get jobs, and they are. And I think, we'd probably see 1,000 students in a day.
How do you approach the school in the first place?
Just contact them and said, do you have any career fairs, and can we come along? And then eventually you're on their mailing list and they come back to you.
Right.
And we've had work experience students as well, so 14-year-olds which have come into the business.
So how do you pitch this wonderful world, and I mean that, a really wonderful world of payroll, with so many facets? How do you pitch this then to a 15-year-old or?
Well, I always ask them what they're interested in, what do they want to do, and you normally find it's some pigeonholed job that either the parent does or, in the brochure of the school magazine. So there's always something that you can hook onto. So they say, I want to be a lawyer, and you go, right, okay, payroll is a place for you because of legislation and policy and regulation. They might say, well, I want to go and work in IT or cyber security, or payroll is a place for you because you've got software development and you've got cloud-based systems that require cyber security and or product development, that sort of stuff. You might have somebody who says, they are really interested in maths, they're going to be a mathematician. You go, okay, maybe you don't want to be in payroll, but there's always something that you can always hook into.
Yeah, I care about people. Well, you couldn't do more to care about people than get them paid accurately, can you?
Definitely.
I care about public services. Well, you are funding.
Yeah.
What proportion is it? 60% of government funding comes from payroll or HMRC. It's a big.
I don't know. It's
a
big. No,
like
it's a big
massive
number. I don't know.
And you guys are responsible for generating that and making it happen.
Yeah, I find it really exciting though, bringing young people into the world of payroll, and you almost can see that they're not going to leave. They fall in love with it, and the opportunities are there for them to progress, and if they've got certain talents in certain areas, helping them to build those talents and how good that's going to be for the business, what we can do.
I think that's interesting as well, that helping them develop in whatever way they seem to have a leaning, rather than forcing them to be a payroll administrator or a payroll executive or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Because there are nuances across the profession, as you've proved upstairs. I think,
definitely.
superbly.
One wanted to be in game design. He's ended up in payroll, but from a tech point of view, and designing user front ends, and so.
Yeah, and the future is the youth, isn't it? The future of the industry.
They're digitally native, and they come in and they are so super fast.
Yeah.
We had one work experience young lad, and he came and he was 14, totally disengaged from school. Actually, his career's advice that he really needs help. He hates school. He came into us for a week, and by the end he was buzzing.
Was he really?
Absolutely buzzing. He didn't realise that he could do such amazing things with tech and whatever, with what we were using.
Brilliant. Well done. I think that's testimony to you and to Steve and the firm, and the fine firm it is to work for. Tracy, if you were to give one piece of advice to a new or a budding bureau manager, what would that be?
What would that tell me? What would that be? It would be to really invest in your leadership skills.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. You cannot lead a business or a department without those skills and that broad array of tools in your toolbox to be able to lead people forward, because not only have you got to have a vision of where you're going, you've got to have a plan of how you're going to get there, and then you've got to bring a team with you. you know, to deliver that. And that's a certain set of sort of skills that you need, definitely.
I think there's a British business malaise, isn't there, that you promote the most technically capable individual into the job just above the one that they're most capable of, and that's management, and they can flounder. That can lead to disillusionment among their team. So I think it's a general failing, but you think it particularly applies to payroll as well?
Absolutely. You know, anybody who's in a position where they have to carry the troops forward, they need leadership skills, and it's not management skills. You need those, but you need beyond that.
I do. Well, we're talking leadership and management here. I've always found it so fascinating that each individual, normally, do you work on a portfolio basis? Each person has their own portfolio? Yeah. I'm glad you said then, because I've got a point about it. But so each person has their own portfolio. Now, I've got 30, you've got 30, and I cracked through mine in 3 days. So do I just go, yes, we're still really busy and drumming my fingers and bbc.co.uk, whatever, and you're busy right through to the end of the week because you've got more complex payrolls or whatever? How does a manager manage that? So you've got competency, you've got capacity, willingness, eagerness, and all those sort of things going on. How the heck do you go about managing that?
Steve does.
Does he? Is he the man? Steve?
Yeah.
He should be on my next.
So Steve knows how each payroll's ran, and he knows where the skill sets are and who's got the space, and we've got capacity management in the software, and so you can see who's got availability. So you can, you get to know that as an art, and you get,
It is an art.
And your managers get to know that,
So when a new job comes in, do you assess what type of payroll is this? Who's best got the skills to cope with this? And then assuming you do, what if that person is already at capacity? Then is it a matter of rejigging?
That's exactly. Basically, that's what you do.
But payroll as well. What takes 2 hours this month, the same payroll might take half an hour next month for whatever reason. That's another oddity about this world, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Well, it's
just the way it is.
That's just the nature of the beast. It's just the nature of it.
Thanks for being a fabulous guest, Tracy. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Have you?
Very, very much.
So I want to close finally by saying a massive, honestly, thank you to the Payroll Centre for supporting this and making all of this happen. It's been a thoroughly exciting experience. Slightly unnerving for both of us, I think, but we got there. Personally, I've observed how bureaus work for decades, and I've always promoted products or services that I think can help bureau managers, usually in a sales role, obviously, but the best products as I see them to help bureau managers. Today, I'm doing that through the association, but I approached the Payroll Centre and ACT as the only person I've sought for sponsorship of the association, because I think they've got a great product and I think they do a great job. And I have to plug them, but I really do mean it personally, that I think they do a great job in the industry. I think ACT is a beautiful tool. If you've not seen it, go and have a look. But for now, thanks to the Payroll Centre. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Steve, for letting me have Tracy for an hour. And thank you, James, for doing such a great job.